You see this character? Yep, that is Scizor from Pokken Tournament. And would you believe me if I told you that he is the most hated character in competitive Pokken, with some calling for him to be banned? Crazy, right? Let me explain. So yeah, Scizor being the most controversial character at the current moment of the game, the best character in the game, and calls for him to be banned? It sounds crazy, considering Scizor does not seem as overwhelmingly powerful on paper as some other characters, like the one standing right opposite him right now. I mean, Aegislash can just get an attack boost whenever he wants, and suddenly he's now doing high amounts of damage, even when I am not capable of hitting all the justice frames on his moves. He has moves that allow him to dash cancel out, even on whiff. So you can do stuff like this, very fast with a hitbox out. The JY, which can snipe people from absurd distances. The Mist, which gives him more combo tools and a trap that he can put up on the field. A low that can beat other lows because you just can't hit Aegislash with a low or a high while he's low stancing. And of course the abomination that is 4Y. Scizor is better than all of that. And the main reason why is because as busted as all those tools seem, things like Aegislash's 4Y and all his other tools, they carry risk. For example, if you 4Y, Scizor can simply, it's not safe on counter, therefore you can get punished like that, and Scizor can even get unique punishes, but that's something we'll get into later. We'll get into the unique things later, but we'll start off by talking about the number one problem with Scizor, the thing that everyone seems to focus on, and what really gets people, his counter. So before we actually get into what Scizor can do, I'm going to explain for anyone who doesn't play Pokken how counter-attacks work. So basically, counter-attacks are basically you press the button and you'll start absorbing hits, and then, because you have armor, then you can let the attack go and boom, you hit the opponent. And this will give you a critical hit, so it will do extra damage against attacks. For example, if we set Aegislash not to press anything right now, the counter attack does 80 damage, which isn't too crazy, but if we set him to attack and then we armor through something and hit him, 90 damage. And typically if you get the critical hit, you can then combo afterwards. This isn't a thing for all characters, Scizor is just one of the few that can do it, but that's not what makes him crazy. The overwhelming majority of characters can combo out of their counterattack. For example, Aegislash can do it well. He also gets a Mist, which allows for a very powerful Okizeme. But yeah, counterattacks, they can do that, and if you've ever played Street Fighter, think of focus attacks. Counterattacks are quite similar to that. However, counterattacks do have two main things that make them more balanced, because of course it seems pretty crazy that you can just absorb, oops, that's the wrong setting, yeah, because I need to re-record this. So again, we'll say Aegislash to attack, that if your opponent just attacks into you randomly, then yeah, you can just punish them for it. It's crazy. And the fact that counterattacks are frame 1, the moment you press the button you'll start doing it. However, counterattacks have a bit of a problem, and you might have saw it there for a second. But one of the problems that they have is that, yeah, they can absorb a lot of attacks, but right before the attack hitbox comes out, I'll see if I can get this. Right there, it's kind of hard to see, wait, if I... There. Right before the attack comes out, 3 frames to be exact, 3 frames before the counterattack hitbox is active, the character loses all the armor, meaning they can be hit. And I'll demonstrate this against the CPU. We'll set Aegislash to attack. I will counter early. And so... boom, I got hit. I got hit because Aegislash hit me during my vulnerable frames, 3 frames before the actual hitbox of my counterattack came out, and that's simply there because I countered too early. If I actually delay my counter a little bit, there. The timing's off. This also means moves that with long-lasting lingering hitboxes like Lucario's Force Palm, because there's a lot of hits that are active, it can easily go through the 3 frames of vulnerability. But that's just one of the downsides about counter, and it's a good one because imagine if you could not hit the opponent during that moment. Oh, that's not the one. If you couldn't hit the opponent right before the attack came out. Counterattacks were completely like that. Another problem that counterattacks have, this is easier to demonstrate with Aegislash, is that they are quite committal. If you press counterattack, actually Aegislash isn't a great example because he goes into shield form. Give me a second. Alright, so switched over to Shadow Mewtwo. Another problem that counterattacks have is that they are quite committal. Once you press them, you have to go into the attack. Well, not really, because you can cancel them with a dash. You can dash backwards and forwards, and it's not hard to do. Counterattack dash cancelling, it's one of the first things that you learn about playing Pokken, is how to do this. And it's to the point of, if you for some reason can't do this, then you're going to really struggle, and it's easy. Just counterattack and then block and dash. Press the block button, dash. It's easy. It's one of the first things that you learn about playing the game. However, it's not as simple as that. I'll try and demonstrate this again. So I'll get Shadow Mewtwo to counterattack and dash out. You can hit him out of it. Right there. There, hit him out of it. Because imagine for a second if you could go for a counter, dash out, and immediately block. There's no end lag. And imagine if you could just avoid the problem of vulnerable frames on your counter by cancelling a counter into another counter immediately before the dash animation finished. Yeah, you know where this is going. Scizor can do both of those things. So how exactly does Scizor do it? I mean, you've noticed that, no, I have to kind of wait for my animation to finish after my counter. I can counter, I can dash forward, and I do have to wait. You'll even notice that he's going into a little forward dash, and that's his hover stance. We'll get into that a little later. But it doesn't seem like he can do that. Well, he does it through a special technique that is not exclusive to Pokken. It's actually in a lot of other fighting games, called Klara cancelling. So what is Klara cancelling? Well, I'll demonstrate it with Shadow Mewtwo, because Shadow Mewtwo is a character that can do a Klara cancel. So I'm going to press grab. Here's the grab. Looks pretty normal, right? Just a move that can go through blocks and throw the opponent. Well, see if you notice anything particular about this grab. Did you see it? You might have missed it, I'll do it again. Right there. You see that little thing that's moving across the screen? Well, if you play Pokken, you'll know what that is. It's 6Y, Shadow Mewtwo's pillar. What I'm basically doing here is I am cancelling, I'm inputting 6Y, but I'm cancelling it with a grab, because grab and 6Y are technically on the same button. So grab and 6Y are on the same button, and that's why when I press 6Y, I quickly cancel it for grab, meaning I get the 6Y startup animation, but the hitbox doesn't come out at all. And instead, we get grab. Now, you might be wondering, is that just a visual thing, or is there any practical application of it? And there is, but it's not as crazy as you think. Okay, so I'll show you the little comparison. I'm gonna walk just into Shadow Mewtwo's grab range. Just need to get it perfect. I would say that'll do. So try and visualize the position of Scizor's feet right here, like that. His front foot is right in front of that little point. And we'll just get him to do a normal grab. Doesn't reach. Now, he did move forward, so I have to reset it. Yeah, it seems about right, maybe a bit further, yeah. So, again, we'll get him to now Klara grab, and it reaches. Because the Klara grab does extend the range of Shadow Mewtwo's grab. Move back a bit. However, it's not a massive difference. It does give Shadow Mewtwo the longest grab range in the game, but only by an extra few pixels, to the point it's not really worth it, especially when, if you're trying to do this, you could accidentally miss input and get a 6Y, which if you whiff that very close to the opponent, they're just going to whiff punish you and it won't work out. It's not super worth it to try and get the Klara, especially since the grab range isn't much better. So now that I've explained like what Klara is, now we can get back to Scizor, because yes, Scizor does have a Klara cancel. He actually has 2 Klara cancels and they work in tandem with each other. So first up, Scizor's Hover Y. This is a unique thing to Scizor where he'll dash forward, and to do this you just dash and then hold down the button. And the basic property this thing has is it can go through weak projectiles. Like, Braixen players hate this move because it goes through a lot of her projectiles. And while Scizor is doing this, he can go for a move called Hover X, which is extremely similar. It's basically the exact same as his 6X, but he does this out of a Hover Dash, which gives him a combo. So just imagine, and you're dashing to your opponent, they throw a projectile, and they're an end lag, and you punish it by Hover Dash X. But now this is how it works with Klara. Just like that. So it might not look super clear of what just happened there, but basically I cancelled Scizor's Hover X into counterattack. But of course, where this gets really crazy is the fact that I can cancel my counterattack into Hover X, and then I can cancel that Hover X into another counterattack. Like that. And of course, where this gets absolutely ridiculous is the fact that you can do that infinitely. You could counterattack into counterattack, Klara cancel the counterattack into Hover X, Klara cancel the Hover X into another counter, and just do that over and over and over and over again. Meaning you don't have any vulnerable frames, and that you don't actually have to get the end lag for your dash cancel out of counter. As long as you Klara into Hover X, you'll cancel the end lag from the dash forward, and then you just press counter again. Klara again, press counter, suddenly you don't have any vulnerable frames. Now, to be honest, I am not super great at doing it. It is quite simple to mess up, especially if you don't know how to do it properly, because if you don't cancel fast enough, you could just go into the dash animation, and if you cancel it too fast, you might end up going into 6X. But it's not like a frame 1 input. If it was a frame 1 input, okay, then I would gather it would be quite difficult to do, but it is quite lenient. To the point you could practice, and then you could do it over and over and over and over and over and over again without hardly messing it up. So basically, Scizor can counter infinitely. There's no end lag on him dashing out, and there's no vulnerable frames. But that's not even the tip of the iceberg for how overwhelming this gets. So basically, if Scizor is standing at this range, this is basically what most characters would consider Footsie's range, he's actually incredibly threatening because of Klara. Never mind that without Klara cancelling, his counterattack is the longest ranged in the game. That wasn't even its max range. I would say about here. Yeah, without Klara, that's the longest ranged counterattack in the game. No character comes close. Like Shadow Mewtwo, his 2Y, not even Shadow Mewtwo's 2Y can reach Scizor. He is ducking it because his counter is a high. I'll get into why that doesn't matter in a bit. But not even Shadow Mewtwo with the longest ranged light attack in the game that's not a projectile, can outrange Scizor's counter. So just throwing that out there as well. So the unique problem with Scizor is the fact that Hover Dash by itself is extremely powerful. While Scizor is in Hover Dash, he has access to Hover Dash X, which we've already talked about. His Hover Dash 6A, or Hover Dash A, his special move, which is Metal Claw, a very obnoxious fuck neutral lunging move, and if he has a Swords Dance up, he gets a full combo off of it. If not, if he doesn't have a Swords Dance, he just knocks the opponent away. And if it even wall splats, so Scizor can get a reward off of that. But what makes Hover Dash so crazy is the fact that another thing he can cancel from Hover Dash is grab. He can Hover Dash up and grab you. So if Scizor is Klara-ing all around you, you have to be scared of the counterattack. You have to be scared of Metal Claw since Metal Claw is safe on block. And you have to be scared of the grab. But what else do you have to be afraid of? His Hover Dash Y, which is basically his light Hover Dash. And just like Metal Claw, it's basically a move that is special cancelable. Without a Swords Dance, you can do X Scizor, Bullet Punch into X Scizor. With a Swords Dance, you can do Bullet Punch into Silver Wind to launch the opponent up and then get a combo. And with a Swords Dance, you can also special cancel it into Metal Claw and get a combo like that. I just realised that's not the right combo. And yeah, if your opponent has a deep attack booster or anything like that, you can combo into Bug Bite and steal it. I'll get into why some more of that bullshit. But it basically means that from Footsie's range, you have to be scared of the Klara cancel, well, counterattack, which, keep in mind, has no end lag, and it's very difficult to get the vulnerable frames, so attacking into it is a bad idea. So yeah, just block, right? Block and you avoid the counterattack. Well, yeah, he can grab you. Basically, Hover Y invalidates the ability to low stance, because any move that has any amount of end lag will be punished by Hover Y. So I've set Shadow Mewtwo to 2YY, a move that doesn't have a lot of end lag. Right there, I just punished the end lag on that 2Y because I countered and then Hover Dashed out. Even if Shadow Mewtwo in this situation tries to special cancel, for example with a back teleport, Hover Y is a move that is just built differently. And if Shadow Mewtwo decides to take the bigger risk and go for Psy Strike, cancel into Psy Strike to armor the Hover Y, that could end even worse. Yeah, that just cost you about almost 3/4 of your health, Shadow Mewtwo. So basically, Scizor can take one of the core mechanics of Pokken and just break all the rules of it by spamming counterattacks with no end lag and no vulnerable frames, which is something no other character can do. And never mind that he has the best counterattack in the game, in addition to his Hover Dash, which remember he can do that infinitely with his counterattack, or he can mix you up with a grab, which by the way does 120 damage. It's above average in terms of grab damage. He can punish you for trying to hit him by using Hover Dash Y, which if he has a Swords Dance, he gets a full combo off no matter what. And yeah, you also might be thinking, well, wait a minute, can't you just grab counterattacks? And yeah, that's true, counterattacks can be grabbed, but the thing is, Scizor can move during his counterattack. Look, he's moving back, out of grab range. Yep, I was in his grab range and then I moved out of it. So yeah, that's fun. Now, the only very, very slight piece of justice that comes from Klara is simply the fact that he can't do it in field phase. He doesn't have access to Hover X, so he can't do Klara cancels. And Hover Y isn't there too, instead it's Forward Y, which isn't super amazing as a move. He still has Metal Claw though, and if he Metal Claw with the swords hit, then it'll phase shift you. It's basically a full screen projectile that can win field phase. And he also has the obnoxious move known as Staples, which he can special cancel by the way, so easy swords. And of course, Staples, you want to approach me? No. You literally struggle to approach him. On hit, you can literally combo them into Metal Claw to win field phase. The only real way to play around staples is to walk to the side, but I can still use them to put up a wall between me and my opponent. Well, let's not forget, when Scizor is in burst, he gets 2 Swords Dances instead of 1, and he can throw down even more staples. So win field phase, and he still has swords. Yay. Oh, and hover Y actually gets 2 additional hits, so it's even easier to hit confirm, and it does extra damage. He also has his side Y in field phase, which is just a good little projectile that can poke at the opponent. He can even go into side Y, which is very good. It is minus 16, sorry, so some characters like Lucario can Bone Rush it, but he could just go into the third hit, and you'll get that'll frame trap. You basically will have to counter the third hit, and then he doesn't have to go into it, or he can counter and once again outrange your counter, because yep, he can still move in full phase, just in more directions, so that's fun. Other moves that he has that is very good, his 4Y, it doesn't actually really do anything on hit, but it's very fast at frame 15, and it's 0 on block, so it's a very good move. You can get a combo. His 8Y actually hits on both sides of him, so you don't actually have to wait for him to turn around before going for it. You can just press it and he will catch opponents jumping. 2Y is a good poke, and it is special cancelable, so you can get a combo out of it, especially with swords, which will lead to a bug bite, which, keep in mind, if the opponent has a buff... Oop, that's not me. Has a buff, then... Mine now, thank you. You just steal it. Which is why you don't run supports that give you a buff against Scizor. I'll get into supports in a bit, because I know I'm going to get questions about that. Even if you don't have a Swords Dance, you do get a combo off of it. And it's very safe. In Burst, it actually has more hits, so it does even more damage. And is easier to hit confirm. Another move that you might not actually expect to be very good is his JY. This right here. You might not expect that to be super good, but the simple reason is Scizor jumps fairly high, and he doesn't float much. He falls very quickly back to the ground, which makes it a good jumping move, and if you get multiple hits of it, you can combo. True combo. But what makes this JY very crazy is the fact that it's a great air-to-air. I'm not super great at using it, but you can actually get combos if you air-to-air the opponent like that. You could even get full loops. I'm not super great at doing those, but he has a good JY. He also has a good GX because he just can, especially against tall opponents, because he can hit them in the head like that. Yeah, GX can do things like that. And that. Which makes it a very good panic button and a good wake up button as well. As long as your opponent does not go for a high, like Shadow Mewtwo's 5Y. Because yeah, if Shadow Mewtwo presses 5Y, he will catch your jump, which sucks. But why don't you just go for a move that avoids highs because it's a low and it's a launcher that is safe on block at only -4. By the way, I know I'm going to get one comment saying this, but I know there's going to be someone out there who says, well, who cares about Scizor's Klara and counter and hover dash? Mewtwo could just hyper beam it. Yes, Klara, hover X and 6X also goes under hyper beam because it's a low. So yeah, 6X is a full launcher and Punisher. I mean, it's basically Hover X. This is basically Hover X. He also has his 4X, which is a powerful O-key because it breaks counters. And it's a special mid, meaning that you can't jump or duck it, so you have to block. And it's plus on block, so Scizor can then put on some pressure or take his turn back. But what makes this move incredibly scary as an O-key is he can dash cancel it. I didn't do that super well. Let me try that again. He can dash cancel it into a grab mix-up. And because he can actually go into hover dash out of that, he can also hover Y. Yeah, so fun. Hover Y, and because he can hover Y, he can go into the Klara cancels, he can Metal Claw, he can basically do everything he can do out of Klara if he cancels 4X, and that just means it's even stronger as an Okizeme. Another move that he has is U-turn, which is very good as a DP for the angle it hits at, making it very good as an anti-air. Of course, if you have a Sword Dance, not only does it deal extra damage, but you get a hard knockdown, allowing for... And uniquely, Scizor is one of the few characters that gets access to his DP in Field Phase, which makes it a good anti-air option, and a good option to say, get off of me. And again, with the Sword Dance, it does extra damage. This means that Scizor is one of the few characters that has a somewhat reliable anti-air. Now, one last move I kind of want to go over because I know I'm going to get questions about it. I'm going to get people that are going to say to me, Joe, what about Chandelure? Chandelure is a character with moves that will armor pierce, so how can that Scizor stop that? Because he can't Klara, he can't do that kind of stuff, and she also has her Hex command grab. And yeah, you are right, but Scizor has one last move I've not talked about yet, that is very good against Chandelure, and that's Bullet Punch. With Bullet Punch, Scizor can keep Chandelure in check, and at worst, it'll mean that you could end up trading, because we both got hit there, and at best, Scizor could end up catching Chandelure, and if he has swords, then he gets in for free, and suddenly Chandelure has to deal with Scizor up close. There's also Flame Burst, but Scizor can punish that with Hover Dash Metal Claw or Hover Dash Y, especially if he can react to her charging it. And the last move is the Charged Laser. If you see Chandelure charging it, you just jump and you go for the hover in the air to stay away from it. Also, Bullet Punch can punish Hex pretty hard. So Chandelure isn't a complete counter to Scizor. Now, to be honest, the only somewhat consistent thing that you have to stop Scizor from just mindlessly spamming counter and Klara is to use your support Pokemon. Because, of course, if Scizor turns blue, you can call that support, and it can, 9 times out of 10, completely annihilate him. The only thing that Scizor can try and do is Klara cancel and jump it, though it will have to be very fast and difficult to do on reaction. But it does suck that you basically have to call your support to punish this, as if you want to stop him from countering. And supports like Mega Rayquaza, Emolga, and Lapras are good calls. You can also use Fennekin, but that does require you to be a bit closer. Dragonite, I guess, but you do have to, again, get closer. Yveltal. Definitely Mega Rayquaza is one of the more consistent answers. The downside there is you can only use it once, and Scizor will Kara a lot. Lapras is good too. But the fact that you have to pick a specific support and that you only get twice a round if you're lucky to even stop Scizor from just mindlessly spamming CA and Kara cancelling is a bit of an issue. So yeah, I'd mentioned at the start of the video that there is a debate whether or not Scizor should be banned from Pokken. I'm not going to get into that because this video is already quite long. I might do a follow-up video talking about the pros and cons of banning Scizor and my own personal thoughts on it. He is, in my opinion, the most lame and boring, stale character in the game that is, without a doubt, to me, the best character. He's number 1, and I basically compare him to Melee Jigglypuff. So you got Melee Jigglypuff, she goes off stage and just spams back air and re-grabs the ledge to get the invincibility. If you try to go off stage to kill her, you'll get hit because her back air outranges everything you have, and then you'll die. So you'll die for trying to kill Puff, just like you'll get hit by Scizor if you try and approach him, if you try and play defensive, if you could get hit with counter, and if you try and block, he could end up grabbing you, and you can't grab him back because he can move out of range. And he does have an absurd amount of moves outside of Klara and CA, so yeah. Also, another thing I'm going to do is link a video in the description to a video that 2018 World Champion Jukum had, where he was playing a set against Scizor, and he talked about how Scizor is incredibly infuriating to fight, and you can even see him get tilted a little. So if you kind of want to see how aggravating Scizor can be in a set or live in action while hearing some commentary on it from a world champion, I'll link that in the description. Be sure to check that out. I might give my own thoughts on a Scizor ban in the future, but I will say this: no matter how annoying the character is, I will always hate the character, not the player, and I would encourage everyone to do so as well. We're not going to get anywhere by harassing and dogpiling Scizor mains for playing the character, but if you want to hate on the character, fine, just don't hate on the player. But anyway, bit of a different video. I might do other videos like this where I talk about my thoughts and feelings on each of the characters and what I think of them, like how good I think they are, and potential strengths and weaknesses, I don't know. But I just wanted to do this one on Scizor because I did the Scizor video earlier this weekend. There was a bit of a debate about the ban that kicked up, so I kind of wanted to give my 2 cents on, just like, be informative and let people know why Scizor is so controversial. But that is going to be all for this video. I want to say thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, let me know. I can do more Pokken content. I will do more Pokken content, but subscribe for more Pokken content. Let me know what you think of Scizor. I kind of want to hear your thoughts on him. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.